And welcome back live here to Strictly Business. This is Rich Wallace, and I am getting set for an hour of fun and understanding on how you can connect. We have a guest this morning, Miss Catherine Francis. Uh, I wanted to start off with telling you what Miss Francis does and some other things, but I'm going to let her come on and talk to you about what she does. This is Strictly Business. My name is Rich Wallace, and we are on edgetvnetwork.net. And we are also a part of LinkedIn and some other platforms that are out there. So if you haven't found us or your friends haven't found us, tell them where they can reach us at. This is Strictly Business. I am Rich Wallace, and we are getting ready to take off. I'm going to take that short commercial break one more, and then when we come back, we're going to have Miss Catherine Francis on.
One of the secrets to exposure for your business lies within supporting Black businesses and entrepreneurs. And that is why the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce is here to connect Black businesses from the desert to the sea. Let's join hands to empower and sustain our community. By becoming a member of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce, you can grow your business and increase your clientele. With our innovation, we'll generate new businesses and get new customers. And we'll connect new mindsets with businesses from across Southern California to help bridge the wealth gap. Let's connect, build, and grow together. Join us now at blackchamberofcommerce.org.
And we're back. Welcome aboard, Miss Catherine Francis. So glad to have you here. Catherine is a longtime member of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce. She went from treasurer to secretary to ambassador to president, and now back to ambassador out in our San Diego region, working with other chambers and other things out in the Southern California region. Was a big connection with the Southern California Edison when we were doing workshops with them, and Catherine was managing those. So good morning, Catherine. Can you say hello to our audience?
Good morning, audience. Good morning, Mr. Wallace. How are you? So glad.
We are doing just wonderful. Thank you so much for being a part of our show this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be on your show. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has been a minute since we got connected. Can you tell me what Miss Catherine is doing today?
Oh my goodness, what is Miss Catherine doing today? Well, I've been working with businesses doing supplier diversity and equity inclusion training.
Time out. Okay. When you start using 50-cent words, we make you explain them here on Strictly Business. When you start talking about inclusion and this and that, a lot of our small businesses are just small entrepreneurs. So when you start using more than 6 letters in your words, we're going to ask you to tell us what that means and how does it work to help us. So you say you've been working with small business and inclusion and all of that. So tell us, get deep with it so we'll understand it before you take off, and wind up 30,000 square feet up in the air. So yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. So supplier diversity and equity and inclusion is basically where we work with businesses such as Southern California Edison and other organizations to make sure that minority businesses and disenfranchised businesses are included in the ask, in the bids and opportunities that are presented. They have set aside for disenfranchised businesses, and those are businesses that are typically underrepresented in business, in contracting. And so that actually steered me into some other areas, which is in addition to that is doing a lot of what I call soul freedom for the soul. As I navigated through doing a lot of this training, I realized there were a lot of barriers that leaders face in trying to navigate some of the disparities that occur in business. So I kind of have this twofold prong where I'm helping businesses actually be contract ready to take advantage of opportunities, but also working on more of a mind, body, soul healing based on some of the disparities that happen throughout life that keep people from sometimes being successful. So
you get You get my mind and my body ready to deal with contracts. Uh,
Absolutely.
okay. And you mentioned set aside. What does that actually mean to a small business? What is that?
So a set aside is a certain percentage of business that is targeted towards minority, women-owned, LGBTQ communities. So there are contracts that are available, and those contracts are set aside and specifically marketed towards businesses in order to level the playing field.
So to get a set aside contract or to be able to bid on a set aside contract, is there anything that the small business has to do? Or do I just go online and type in set aside? How do I get to that?
So typically they require you to have some type of certification certifying that your minority business is 51% owned by, if you're LGBTQ, African American, Latino American. And so they basically do some verification to just verify that you are actually of an ethnicity that has been historically disenfranchised.
Okay, so uh, then now you can go to the Black Chamber of Commerce at blackchamberofcommerce.org, and they will direct you in the area where you can get certified so that you will qualify for these set aside contracts that are set aside for you as a small business so that you can grow your business and be able to get federal and government contracts. But you must be certified to be able to do that as a disadvantaged business or other certifications that are out there. And if you need some information on how to be certified, you can reach out to the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce at blackchamberofcommerce.org. Now, when you say getting them ready, getting my mindset ready, is there workshops that you do, or how do you take myself as a contractor? I just really pour concrete and and I do some patios in the backyard, but I'm good enough to build a freeway. So how do I get into that? How do I change my mindset, or what do you do to help me change my mindset so that I can reach up as opposed to reaching out?
So there's a lot of different things. So one of my trainings is hidden rules to working with prime contractors. And some of the things that comes out would be the typical, there are beliefs such as that the prime contractor gets all the money and they're not paying fairly, things like that. And while prime contractors do get a large portion of money, what people don't realize is a lot of that money is held back until the projects are completed. So let's say you have a $500,000 contract and you pay your subcontractors X amount of dollars. And so, but that person, they keep back a certain percentage of those payments every month or every time they get paid, every invoice. And so oftentimes the prime contractor is getting their money last. Now, certainly we have larger businesses that have, money in the bank or money in the queue, but smaller contractors that are seeking to be prime, they don't always have that. So those are some of the myths that create kind of different dispositions on how we engage with people. So for instance, if you owed me money, and let's say that sometimes, a lot of times the state can be really late in paying, and I feel like, well, you have the money and you just don't want to pay me. Well, you may be waiting for the state to pay you, but if you're a larger business and you don't get paid, then your disposition is a lot of times more negative, feeling more oppressed, because those are some of the social contracts that minorities have experienced. Well, in fact, that contractor may just be simply waiting to get paid. And so the way that we communicate, the way we engage with that contractor can create tension that prevents us from getting repeat business. So there's different nuances that come up in those situations. They're not in every situation. And it's not to say that those things don't happen. But if we go in with a negative attitude about who we're working with, who we're dealing with, it just makes a situation that might already be stressful more stressful.
Okay, so it's about understanding how that contract works. Now, as a small business, you're saying that the prime may be able to get the contract to build the building, but I could come in as a subcontractor and maybe do the asphalt or the sheetrock or just a portion of that, so I can actually bid for a smaller portion of that contract. Is that a training that I need to be uh, trained on, or does your workshop actually get into the contracts, is it more helping me mindset wise prepare for filling out the contract? Or do you have places like the Black Chamber of Commerce that you could send me to that will help me fill out this contract form? Because looking at these 7 or 8 pieces of paper that I got to fill out pretty much changes my mind or puts me in a depression stage.
Absolutely.
So how do I stay up, get up, and be up with what's going on? And how do I get a hold of you? And how long does the workshop work? Tell us about how you can instrumentally guide us or keep us on a positive note as we move along, because it's so easy to get sidetracked or to get depressed or to just get like, give up. What the heck?
Yes. So I serve again. I always wear multiple hats, just like you, Rich. Well, the Black Chamber has been very instrumental. So a lot of the trainings I do, again, many of them have been sponsored over the years through Southern California Edison or different private contractors or what have you. The Black Chamber has been instrumental. So I work a lot with Nikisha Bond, who's out of your Temecula, Southern California region. She puts on a numerous of workshops where she actually brings people in to actually help people get certified. Upon getting certified, though, there are those hoops. It's, not always who you know, and sometimes it is who you know, but also knowing how to behave. So, for instance, when you're working as a construction gig, right, and you are on a construction site, there's a very different protocol. And I ran a construction trades program for Chaffey College many, many, many years ago. In helping welfare to work and parolees and businesses actually, better secure contracts. So when you're working on a construction site, what it takes in the overalls and the steel-toe boots to actually do the work is very different than when you're walking into an office and you're doing an interview. When you are a person looking to get a contract, there's language, there's a more of a formal language when you actually enter that, HR building to get that contract. Some of the hoops you have to navigate through, the people that you're dealing with through supplier diversity. It's a more of a professional environment. Now, you may be the contractor that can go out and hammer the nail, build the best building ever, but if you can't communicate well with the people that actually issue the bids, issue the contract, you don't have a good rapport with them, then you face that frustration. In some of my trainings, I have certain people, and so sometimes it's like they just go on and they bid, but they have never formed a relationship with anyone. And while the bids are supposed to be objective, having a relationship with people that are part of the organization, knowing about opportunities, people knowing your face, knowing your name, as those things come up, there are just opportunities that are to be more well received in those businesses. But if you are just looking online and you haven't formulated those relationships because you don't know how, you haven't taken the time to do so, then it may push you a little bit further or take you a little bit longer to get connected. So those are the different things that happen. And sometimes people are not as comfortable with the larger contractor. There's a lot of structure in there that is not always discussed. You fill out the paperwork, you go through that intense, robust kind of a thing to do. A lot of it is online. And so sometimes even navigating through the platforms is its own class. And so, but once you get there, you want to be able to stay there. And a lot of that comes with being able to have good, healthy working relationships with people.
Okay. So now, do you become a go-between between the guy that's digging the ditch, that owns a contracting company that really doesn't understand the paperwork, which is why he doesn't bid, which one of the things that you mentioned is that it looks complicated. We have a charter school called Youth Bill in the Inland Empire. And when we look at a contract with the kids and they see that it's 3 pieces of paper and it's a lot of words on it, they don't even think to read it. They don't even think that, okay, it's going to be really simple. They look at the big picture right away and fear sits in as opposed to taking little bites. So now, does your company or you as a service, do you become the go-between that contractor and that prime, or do you, If I called you and I said, listen, I bake cakes and I heard that the city of Los Angeles was having a big party and they want a bunch of cakes, but I'm certified, but I've never, ever filled out any kind of paperwork for any city. So are you that person that kind of helps and guides me along with that?
I'm probably not that person. So it's something I have done in the past, but again, I'm going to refer that person to the Black Chamber of Commerce. Again, Nikisha Bond has been very instrumental. I've spoken at many of her events over the years in helping people actually get to the right person. The Black Chamber of Commerce has been amazing in doing that. I'm the person that's going to help you feel confident in the interpersonal business development relationships, because it's very different in the B2B. It's very bit different than B2C. It's different than me meeting up with you at a chamber event and saying, oh, hey, Rich, I can bake this cake for you and, sponsor your next event. That's very cut and dry. You're like, okay, I can offer $50 or whatever that is. And then I'm like, okay, great. And I'm going to bring that food to you. We just had a meeting and engagement. That's one-to-one. We might sign on a dotted line. If we have a relationship, we might not even do that. I might you better make sure that I'll show up with that food on that chamber event. That's one thing. When you're talking about B2B, when you're talking about a small business or a larger corporation, there are processes, there are things that people have to go through, even beyond filling out the certification, because the certification is really just birth certificate, passport, something that verifies that you are a minority, that you're not some secret millionaire, those kind of things. But then what do you do with the personal relationship? Because it is very different. I know when I first got my contract, I remember I had to have the errors and omissions insurance, so forth and so on. They wanted, I think it was like the person wanted $1,100. I'm like, $1,100? I hadn't even did the work. And I was just speaking. So when you think about things like that, there's just a lot of different hoops to navigate. And I was able to reach out to the people at the Supplier Diversity who were handling that, kind of share, this is what I did. I was able to get some additional resources to get the coverage that I needed, and to get some additional like waivers and whatever, so that I could do that. And then eventually, once I actually got the contracts, and I was able to meet I think it's like a $5 million errors and omissions and general liability just to speak. That's not me climbing anything. That's not me tearing down anything. That's just to stand and say, I'm an independent contractor and Edison sent me here to talk to you about supplier diversity. So you can imagine, if that's what I have to do to speak, imagine someone who's picking up a hammer or who's subcontracting for something, even that more significant. And for me, it was more of a contract. I had a year-long contract originally, and I've done that for about 5 years. But that's just to start. That was no training had happened. They had not paid me anything. I was just to be qualified. So, if you kind of come in some of the things that I have seen, and you're like, oh, see, this is it. They're always against me and we just can't get ahead. I mean, you're not going to pick up the phone and call someone and say, hey, so they want $1,100 as a down payment. That's not including my monthly because you don't have the language or what have you, because you just do the work. There's a great book called The E-Myth, and it talks about exactly what you're saying. Just because you can bake a cake is very different baking a cake than running a bakery, right? What does that look like? And so those are the kind of things that I help people with is, okay, I'm so glad you can, bake a great cake. All your friends like, oh, you should open up a shop. You should do this. I mean, you get all the time chamber meetings, right? Go out and do that. But they don't tell you all this hoops. You've been selling cakes and bringing them to the chamber meetings and boop, 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 all of that. But in reality, if you want to go serve an event in Southern California, Edison does a lot of events, a Black History event. They do all kind of different events. Now what you have to do is very different. Why? You're going to have to figure out how to pay for all that food for several hundred people. Make sure you have all the licenses. Now, Southern California Edison does actually have a kitchen and other things that I won't get into, but that you can utilize. Then you got to have insurances, and that's before you get paid. So
yeah, and one of the things of it is that sometimes people don't look at the gas company and Edison and other utilities or even big companies that they do have parties. They do have celebrations. They do need caterers. They do need, besides the guy with the hammer and the other things, they buy paper, they buy toilet paper, they buy tissue, they buy hand sanitizer, they buy all kinds of things. So all depending on what you have as a business and what you're selling, there's a major firm, there's a major government agency. I just came out of San Diego with a meeting with GSA, and they're trying to figure out, they got millions of dollars that they want to spend in the minority community. So they had all of the chambers down in San Diego, the gay, lesbian chamber, they had the Hispanic chamber, the Native American chamber, the Southern California Black chamber, and just a whole array of us talking about how our members are able to do business with the federal government. One of the things that you did mention is that I know one of the things that I always insist on a lot of our members, and you mentioned, well, it's like who you know. And I tell my members all the time, I said, listen, you can't know everybody, but everybody can know you. Mm-hmm. So it's better for you as an independent guy is to say, it's who knows me. I am the most important person in the room. Mm-hmm. So people need to line up to greet me as if I'm the new king, you know. So as we watch for the next 5-6 days, we're going to watch the Queen's funeral and the after party and the this and the that. It's going to be on every local channel, and they just going to be a whole nother country, and they're going to be talking about what's going on with the Queen, which has no decision-making processes, and the new king and all of that kind of stuff. So everybody, that the king doesn't know everybody, but a lot of people know the king. So I tell our members, showing up is the key. Showing up at the chamber mixers, not just the Black chamber mixers, the Hispanic chamber mixers. I mean, no matter what your nationality is, go to the Asian Business Association Network. Go to other things. Showing up and being in the room is really the key, because even though I didn't get a chance to talk to Miss Catherine Francis, I saw you in San Diego at this meeting. I saw you in DC at another meeting. I saw you at another meeting. And now 3-4 meetings into it, I want to know who you are. And I'm a major firm. I run, Procter & Gamble or whoever, but Procter & Gamble's person that they send out to check the fields, to check out who's doing what, your name comes up under the radar. Now, when it comes up under the radar, I need to be prepared. It's like the third string quarterback on the bench, and he hasn't played in 5 years, but he's getting a nice little $300,000 a year check because he's going to practice and all of that kind of stuff. But he's on the bench, Two quarterbacks behind him, two quarterbacks in front of him. All of a sudden, he gets called in the game. Now, if he has the skills, but Catherine Francis has been counseling him or getting him mentally ready, because no matter what your skills are, if your mental stability is not working right, it's like having vertigo or something, you're walking sideways. But so what are some of the things that you do that you mentioned to me the other day about people being angry or people being upset at life? I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at my mama. I'm not mad at my daddy. I'm just mad because I got a friend that excels like crazy and it looks so easy. And I'm over here busting my tail trying to get something done. I'm the hardest working guy in show business and nobody knows I'm in show business. How do you get my mind ready for all of the things? And I say, Catherine, I've done this. And you go, well, you need to do this. Well, I've already done that. And I call people and nobody calls me back. And how do you deal with the frustration of the business environment for the guy that's really, really doing the right thing, the right way, working the hardest, but his neighbor across the street is just stumbling in the contracts?
Yeah. Oh wow, Rich, you touched on so many things, and so I'm gonna backtrack. I want to go to the showing up part. So let me tell you how I even got in touch with Southern California Edison many years ago, and I'm talking probably like 10 or 10, 15 years ago, maybe. I was doing Bridge the Tech Gap conferences, and Southern California Black Chamber supported me and allowed me to use the Riverside Chamber location to do that. Rich then got me in contact with Southern California Edison to come and speak at one of my events, literally. And so I connected with one of the young ladies there, Miss Michelle Myers Heard. She came out and spoke at an event again. The chamber allowed me to host it there. We put the event on, but they allowed us to use the space. I don't know if they still do that. That was about 10 or 15 years ago, literally. And so people came, again, very supportive. And so from that, I just formulated a relationship with the young lady. And so I started attending different business events. I ended up on their business advisory panel. I mean, I wasn't working for Edison. At the time, I was teaching college and doing just corporate training and trainings and things like that because I saw a need. I, partnered again with the chamber and did, little trainings here and there. But again, they have such an amazing team of people in doing these events. So fast forward, I had moved to Bakersfield, literally. They started doing a history event in Bakersfield, California. I was sitting at a table, and the people at the table were talking about needing more training in the Central Valley. And so again, I've been on a business advisory panel. I literally would leave Bakersfield, go to Westminster, wherever they were having an event, I would show up. And they're like, you're everywhere because you just got to go. Like Rich talks about, from the desert to the sea, there's no shortage of money. It's just, what do you want to do to get it? And so I'm literally sitting at the table. This is not a joke. They were just talking about, somebody had hosted something and it didn't necessarily meet with whatever was going on with their standards and expectations. And I literally said, well, why don't you guys let me train? I've been on your panel and that was it. And they're like, oh, okay. I said, I moved to Bakersfield. I'm up here all the time. I live here now, and literally they're like, where's your resume? And I submitted a resume and they forwarded to the person and we did some back and forth, whatever. And they were like, okay, well, this looks good. We won't be back. As a matter of fact, they said, we won't be back in the Central Valley for like 2 more months. And I was just like, yeah, well, I have a car I can drive. And so they said, really? I said, yes. They said, okay, well, we can meet you next week. I literally drove down to Rosemead from Bakersfield, did a presentation, and they're like, okay. I left. If they follow back up with me, and that's literally how I started doing the training. Now, again, I had to jump through a whole bunch of other hoops. But that's literally how showing up, that happened, and how the chamber helped me just by putting me in connections. And Rich will tell you, look, I can connect you to people, but I can't do it for you, right? And so if you don't have that mindset of how to engage, of how to get out, you can collect so many business cards. And I do these trainings at the chambers all the time, and you can collect all the business cards, but people are like, I've been in the chamber for 20 years, but you can't tell me what at least 5 other people do. And if they don't know what you do and you don't know what they do, how are you actually creating a network? And then let me fast forward and just give a plug to the Asian Business Association with Jay Ungos. Now, when COVID happened and I was doing a lot of the training got converted to online, I had spoken to the ABA OC and spoken at several of their events. And so they rallied around me and they helped me actually take all of my trainings online. I was doing actually online events for Edison, for the LGBTQ community, for the NAMAC, NAWIC, National Association of Women in Construction. So just that relationship building, the support I needed, just because, as Rich saying, check out other chambers, the Asian Business Association, Orange County with Jay and Anna, amazing. Southern California Black Chamber, Nikisha has always been, and I'm always en route between here and there. And Nikisha often is on my way, so I can stop by and just speak to different things. So showing up is truly half the battle. So fast forwarding to the mindset piece and what that looks like. One of the things that we've seen is because racial disparity and things like that, it's an issue. Okay. We don't want to minimize the social construct. Navigating through all the paperwork to get yourself certified, which does not guarantee you're going to get a contract. There's certain frustrations that come up. And oftentimes the people that have the prime contracts don't look like us. And if you're mad at them or you're just mad in general, and the negativity that you felt from 5 years ago or from growing up in the South comes out in that relationship, then it's not a good working relationship. Because if you don't feel comfortable reaching out to them, or you reach out to them with a negative attitude or things like that, then it makes it hard to work with people, because again, we're all under duress in some form or facet. And just because I have a larger company doesn't necessarily mean that I'm under less stress. It doesn't take away the fact that there are really social constructs that really happen in minority businesses. So uh, I've served as a crisis support counselor, so I'm going to talk about something real briefly. They call it BIPOC. It's called Blacks, Indigenous People of Color. And one of the things that they talked about with even people who commit suicide and these other things were, so let's say you're already living in a disenfranchised community. You're a business owner. Maybe, you've been incarcerated, so you can't really get a sustainable job. Then you get pulled over by the police. Then you have all these things while you're trying to go get a contract. It's not just one thing that affects minority businesses. It's a bunch of different things. It's the ability to be qualified, right? Oh, you don't have $500,000 in your bank account, so that you are disqualified, even though you're the best, pipe fitter in the world. But because you don't have X amount of money to pay your employees for the next 6 months, right? I remember there was a bid out for trucks. I think Miss Bianca had, and Vobeki got that. But it was a great opportunity, but you had to be able to pay your people for 6 months before you might ever get a check yourself. Well, a lot of my minority businesses are not in that position. And so while we want to go for the biggest fruit and the quickest way to get dollars, sometimes even being a subcontractor to a subcontractor, that low-hanging fruit is really important. And so those are some of the things that I have shared with people. And even in being a Black contractor, even the LGBT community, sometimes I have to tell people, like, yes, you're a Black owned business, and that's great and important. But just because you're fixing computers, it's not necessarily a Black business. It's a computer business. And that's important. It is Black owned, but if you have a computer business, then it's just a computer business. So you're going to get a lot more miles with, having a computer business instead of a Black computer business or a LGBT computer business, because business is its own entity. So I just think there's a language, there's a way that we can communicate, the way that we can better represent our organizations in ways that navigates through some of those unspoken things. And, while we do want social and economic justice, the truth of the matter is, without economic justice, it's really hard to get social justice. I wish it was different, but that's how it is. Get paid,
Okay. Getting into fairness, social justice, or being, I was at a conference yesterday in Los Angeles, the largest expo at the Bonaventure Hotel. I had several people that walked up to me that, and we got our Black Chamber of Commerce sign up, that we're not Black. And that was a little confused on why we needed to be a Black chamber. Why is there a Black chamber? One guy was really wanting to have a conversation about it. Well, don't you feel like you're a little racist because you're a Black chamber? And I jokingly smiled to him and says, no, I take white people money too. So as a small minority, Black owned, women owned, Hispanic owned business, and how is it that you or someone in your capacity that deals with the mindset help me? I was born in Fort Worth, Texas. That's really where I'm from. I was born in an era of segregation, high racism. I went to high school before they integrated. So I went to an all Black school. And at my senior year, they were integrating, and they wanted to send us over here, and they wanted to send some people over there. So how do you navigate for the older people that have dealt, or even the younger people that have dealt with racism, that they're just so angry? They were just so angry at the past president that they missed an opportunity, or did they miss an opportunity, or did they not want an opportunity because they felt he was racist? How do you get past, or as Black people, how do you work with people you don't like? Because a lot of times we as people, no matter what race you are, there are some people that are within your nationality. There are some people that are in your family that you just don't like. You just don't want to associate with it. But as a business person, your last statement was make the money. How do I get past my emotional situation? Because that's what you help with. And how do I get past that to be able to work with somebody I just can't stand? I watched the Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama battle when they were both running for president. And when he won, he gave her a top level job. And he about called her a racist white woman a couple times, and she about called him a Muslim that didn't like America. I mean, the words were so damaging in some cases. How do you get past that to say Catherine is still the best person for this job, even though we talked about each other's mama, for a minute, So how do I mentally get past my ego to allow your ego in my world?
So I have a couple of sayings. One, I tell people you don't have to like everybody, but you should be likable. You should be somebody that people can be around, not feel some kind of way, so that you can go to the bank. You may not marry my daughter and I may not marry your son, but we should be able to go to the bank together, because that's what business is all about. If you're going to start a business and you have a responsibility to your business and the people that work for you, to your family who are making whatever sacrifices it takes to be a business owner, and does take sacrifice, you can't let those things get in the way. And so there's many things that we can go through, but that's what I tell people. You don't have to like everybody. You may not like me, but if I can help you get the money without, having to go against your principles or whatever, those kind of things, and you can't even figure out how to go to the bank with me, we got to get past that. We need to go to the bank, because like you said, you take white people money. I tell people all the time, look, if you need an Asian, a white person, a Mexican person, just tell me what you need to show up. Because as long as I'm going to the bank and you see whatever face you want to see, I'm good with that, because I like to get paid. No, I have, and anybody who knows me, I surround myself with a diverse group of people. Just tell me what you need. I used to live in New York, and they have the guy with with the jacket. What you need? I got a watch. I got this. You got them on. That's me. What do you need for your business? You need a white dude? I will find one for you. You need, because that's what it's about. So for me to have economic justice, I have to go to the bank. So navigating through that is, you could be likable, because everybody needs to be likable. And I tell people, business owners, sometimes you go to chamber meetings and you're not the best representation for your company. You're busy. You don't really want to be there. You need to go with somebody who feels good, who loves to network. A lot of people are introverted, right? If you're an introvert and you just go, your money isn't working for you. And it's all about making your money work for you, right? Why? Because you go there, you don't really meet anybody. You're just trying to go. You did your dues. You show up and you're proud that you've been there for 20 years. And people complain like, well, I haven't done any business. Who have you met? And I've actually done it in my trainings, where it's like, can anybody here tell me what at least 5 people do? You've been in the chamber for 10 years. Can you tell me what 5 people do? And a lot of times they can't. So now you're blaming the chamber for not connecting you with business, but you haven't done your part. And sometimes you don't do your part because you feel some kind of way about different people. There's just so many things, but you could be likable. You should be approachable. You should be smiling. And if you can't be that for your organization, hire somebody who does.
And that's good. That's good, because if you go to the dance and you don't dance, then you've missed the opportunity to connect, because that's what you went to. You went to a dance and you go, well, how was the dance? Or people go to church and they go, oh, the message was great. Say, what was it about? And they go, I don't remember, but it was good. So you didn't interact. You didn't toss out an amen or a praise the Lord or I really like that. Go pastor, that kind of thing. So you didn't absorb any of the stuff that was coming your way. And people go to a lot of the motivational trainings now. That's a big thing. I was at this conference yesterday in Los Angeles, and I met a lot of people that had training. They were motivational trainers. I'm a motivational trainer. Oh, okay. There were people there that were I do social media marketing. I can get you to the top of this or that. All of these social media marketing people that are coming out of college, and they're saying, oh, and I'm going to say this, so I'm going to get some feedback on this, but I'm going to say it, that don't want a real job, that say, I'm a marketing genius and I can do your website and I can do this and I can do that, because they're trying to find a way to work from home. So that, to me, I say, okay, how are you going to help me? Well, I can take care of your whole social media thing. Okay, that's important. I understand social media. I am probably the person that beats up on only social media processes. I talk to so many small businesses and they're struggling. They're on Facebook, and I send out my Facebook alerts, and I spend an extra $35, $50 a month on boosting my ad. I'm on Instagram. So many young people say, well, I'm on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram and Instagram. And I'm like, okay, all right. Do you do any mailing? No, do you do any of the traditional? And I think sometimes in the new small business era, we're throwing, the old people used to say, you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Absolutely.
So you miss the connection. Oh, I have an email list of 10,000 people. Well, I go through my emails every morning and I go delete, 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 and I only read the ones that have and I'm an email junkie. I want to read whatever people have because I'm looking for stuff for our members. I'm opening up this. And with so much fraud and all of that going on, it's tough for a small business to navigate, to me, through this internet world or this internet process, because you got Joe Blow in Africa, Egypt, or wherever he is, sending you saying, I can change your life for $49.95. Send it to me. For $49.95, I'll pay $50 to get my life changed.
Right, absolutely.
But when I send them $49.95, I see $499 on my credit card and this and that, So I'm jumping through fraud hoops. I'm jumping through other things, trying to figure it out. As a small business with so much coming at me, I don't gear my small businesses away from social media. I say, you need it. You need to be on Instagram. You need to be on YouTube. You need to be on Facebook. You need to be on whatever the kids are, even TikTok. I'm thinking about making a TikTok video for the chamber, So, and but when you don't go to meetings, you don't send out mailers, people still get mail. Real mail, snail mail. They call it snail mail now, but if you put a postcard with a stamp on it, the stamp costs you, I don't know, stamps are probably $50 now. I don't know how much a stamp is, but you've reached me directly. I went to my mailbox and I got something from Catherine Francis that said, happy birthday. I'm thinking, I don't even know who that is, but that was nice because I got it in the mail. And you know what? I took it in the house. So getting in the house is key. And then maybe I threw it away afterwards, but you did touch my mind. So when I'm out and about and I see a name says Catherine Francis, oh, that's the lady that sent me a birthday card. Let me say hi to her, find out what she does, connecting. You did mention, and I'm rambling on here, but you did mention a couple of things I wanted to go back to, and that was errors and admission insurance. A lot of small businesses, well, right now, and I say this, and I want to let small businesses know, you need a SAMS.gov number today. Your Dun & Bradstreet information is done. Dun & Bradstreet no longer is taking information. So if you're trying to get government contracts or you're trying to do certain things and you've had this Dun & Bradstreet number since you've been in business, everybody told you need to go get one. Now you need a SAMS number, and you got to go to SAMS.gov to get it. Fill out the application. It's free. Don't let nobody tell you, $49.99 and I'll do it for you. It's free. Go to SAMS.gov, get you a SAMS number. It's important for your business. It's just as important as your tax ID number and the other numbers that you have for your business. But what is error and admission? What is that you mentioned?
So errors and omissions insurance is like, because I'm a professional speaker and trainer, if something were to go wrong or you don't like something, you do implement something and like, oh, that didn't work and cost me $1 million, then you can go and be insured. So it's general liability insurance. So if I someplace and I trip and fall or whatever, then, I'm covered. And I have several subcontractors underneath me that will be covered under there as well. So that's what errors and omissions insurance are. So you have a speaking, or, when you speak or you provide information to people, that covers that. Something you did say that I want to go back to when talking about missed opportunities and how we feel about things comes up. So there was a very controversial thing that popped up, and I don't get on social media as much as I should, but Bank of America had advertised that they were helping minorities and Blacks and Hispanics get home loans. And this was a big to-do. So I thought it was very interesting and talked to a couple of my friends about what they were. And some people were really indignant about it. So let's talk about missed opportunities and this idea of being angry and disenfranchised. So several things came up. There were some non-minorities that said it was reverse discrimination for Bank of America to offer home loans to African Americans and Hispanics, totally disregarding the red lining and the blue lining that's happened throughout history. So, this idea of reverse racism is always an interesting dynamic. And for me, I'm like, let's all get along. But the idea is, it's reparations. Reparations comes in many, many different forms. And while Bank of America may not admit that they've redlined, the studies have shown that historically, when it comes to African Americans and Hispanics, they have given them higher interest rates. They have made it where it's impossible for them to buy homes in certain areas. So many different things. Even when you get the down payment assistance programs, they're typically in really poor areas that nobody really wants to move into. So even their help is limited to a particular area that they try to gear minorities into. That's not taken into consideration. However, the thing that was most interesting were a lot of the African Americans and minority and Hispanic communities actually felt some negative kind of way. Their response was like, oh, this is going to set Black people back like we did in the 2008 economic crash and these things like that. And I talked to different friends and they had their different opinions about it. But, at the end of the day, if you got caught in and I know it was predatory lending, I get all of that. But I have several friends that are financially positioned, have good jobs, even have money in the bank to get an opportunity to get a loan through Bank of America. Now, if you got caught in the crash, I've lost homes. I don't say it like, oh, I did it all right, because most of the stuff I learned because I didn't do it right. But it's not Bank of America's fault if you falsified how much money you made. It's not Bank of America's fault if you didn't read the terms of your agreement. Now, again, I'm not saying they didn't take advantage of people, but I also say that there are people who right now, especially coming off of COVID, there are a lot of people who lost a lot, but there's a lot of people in COVID who gained a lot. So COVID had very different impacts on many different people. I've worked at a crisis support counselor. I've heard stories of, people living it up, and I've heard stories that are heart-wrenching. But COVID had so many varying effects on people that there are people that came up post-COVID. In the lieu of the fact that the interest rates have jumped up twice, okay, let's just go with that. And now you have Bank of America coming saying, hey, we are not necessarily going to admit that we did anything wrong, but we want to help people who have not otherwise traditionally been able to get homes and be more of an advocate for them. And you have minorities that are discouraging that. And so while we talk about reparations, we talk about, wanting to level the playing field, we talk about supply diversity, when companies do try to do something, and maybe that's all they know to do, right? Because they're not going to necessarily come out and counsel you about, systematic racism, but they can do their part. We go back to George Floyd and some of these more emotional things. I mean, we could pick it all day long, but what we need is somebody to put money in our pockets. We need economic justice, right? Because again, so I found it very interesting that I had friends, professionals that had different opinions about. They were debating on it, and I thought it was really interesting because even the people debating were like professional friends of mine, and I was like, wow, this is interesting. And I don't get on social media as much, but this just goes back to why we really have to heal. We call it inner healing, or I call it soul freedom, those issues of the soul. Because if, again, you don't have to like everybody, but you should be likable. If a program comes out and it doesn't work for you because you can't get over what happened in 2008. I mean, we're in 2022, okay? Don't get me wrong. It sucked. But we're talking about 10 years. And so we can't get past what happened in the market crash. And the market has continually crashed and come up. You know, you have Wall Street people that lose money in the stock, but you know what? They don't stop investing. They keep investing their money. They'll lose money, go through losses. I mean, you know, we talk about millionaires. Oh, they've been bankrupt once or twice. Donald Trump, you know, Robert Kiyosaki, all these people. We pay to go hear them speak, but then we miss opportunities. So you're telling me from 2008, 2010, 11 market crash, housing market crash, 10 years later, that's your reason why you won't take advantage of an opportunity? Those are the issues of the soul, because I believe in economic justice. And I've seen it where, I mean, I've traveled internationally. I've been to other countries. I think that I'm unique, and yet I am. In the sense of, it may not be good for you, but don't discourage somebody else from the opportunity. You know, we go back to even the back and forth between Republicans and Democrats. Like, if you're a small business, you need to make the decisions about your small business. If you're a person of faith, you know, you should be aligning your decision making with what you believe, not just what you feel about someone. And those are those kind of things that for me, I feel have been a big hindrance. And that's why I feel like I kind of vacillate. Yes, I want to help the small business, but I begin to realize that the mindset is keeping you from this opportunity. Because if I take you to an Asian Business Association chamber in Orange County, which very good friends with the president, and again, they've been a huge support to me, huge support. And you feel some kind of way about Asian people, and now you go there and you're, you know, whoop, 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 feeling some kind of way. Well, now you're missing out opportunities. And I could tell you that particular organization, I can speak on several other, but that particular organization has been instrumental. They will call like, hey, you know what, you know, he's even comped me a ticket or whatever. I mean, so many different things, very much like the Black Chamber, like Nikisha. So why am I saying that? But if you feel some kind of way about a person of a different ethnicity and you won't even get the information from them, you won't go there and interact with them, then you're missing out on opportunities to do business, to do that B2C, to find new clientele outside of your immediate circle. And those are the areas where I feel like we really, really need to expand upon, because every other culture will take money from us, but sometimes we limit our ability to reach out into other cultures and in order to do business with people in a way that's meaningful and create win-wins and that's mutually beneficial. So that's the area where I've seen some of the biggest areas where we need what I would call a breakthrough or soul freedom, because it's important for your finances, for your family, to feed your family, to be able to go on vacation, be able to take the break, you know. But if you don't have the economics, you don't do business with people outside of your community, then that's it. And yes, we want to build the African-American community, want to build minority community, that's great. But until we do, we need to make sure that we are reaching into whatever community that we can actually give back to, and that's willing to give back to us. And I have found that in many communities, whether they like us or not, if you do good business, you give them good service for what they pay, you have good interpersonal relationship skills, they'll call you back time and time again. That's been my experience. And I do not believe, again, that's unique to me alone. I believe it's just a disposition that I have learned over the years. I do know that there are many people that have had many different experiences, and I certainly don't want to minimize their struggle, their challenges, but I do believe that we can really bridge the gap in that. Again, you don't have to like everyone, but you should be likable. You may not want to take advantage of the Bank of America home loan or whatever, but don't discourage somebody who pulled themselves up, got their finances together, got their deposits together, got those things, and have verifiable income and can take advantage of something that has really been missing in our communities, which is an equal opportunity to own property and to pass that property on to our children. And as a small business, you know, make sure you have your ducks in a row, have your 1099s, have your taxes filed, those little things that sometimes slip through the loop when you're trying to do everything, be the baker, the salesperson, the marketing person, all those things. It just doesn't work. And while we do have a large number of minority businesses and Black-owned businesses, most of those businesses do not have any employees, which means you have one person doing everything.
Yeah.
That can be a problem.
I just found out there's going to be here in the California area, as well as across the nation, the DIL grant that they were giving out, the California State grant. It's coming back. They're going to be issuing funds again in October. So that's a good thing. So if you've been in business for over a year and you don't have the information that you needed, when they were issuing the grants before, you got a minute to go get it together. So you can now file, even though you're just now getting your tax ID number. If you can show you were in business 2 years ago or a year ago, then you're qualifying for that. One of the things that you said earlier, and I wanted to get it in before we got off the air, is a resume. As a person looking for a job, they're always working on their resume. But when you become an entrepreneur, myself included, I stopped doing resumes because I'm the stuff. I don't need a resume for somebody. But once I've been in it for a minute, I found out I need a resume. So a resume of the businesses that are successful, or the customers that I've had, or the ones that I've gone through and I've finished the projects, and a lot of times we don't need the applause because we're in business for ourselves, and I'm just moving, and I tell everybody wants to be on a moving train. I'm getting this, I'm getting that, but you're doing so much in your entrepreneurship, and you're maybe successful or somewhat successful, or you had some success, or you had some failures. And if you have a resume when you're going to get a contract or apply for that home loan or apply for whatever it is that you're trying to get, or if you're just trying to get my business and you want to be a part of what I'm doing, then you need something to show me that you somewhat kind of credible. And when you mentioned resume, I made a note of that because that's something that has been coming up because we're applying for grants. And as a small business person that I'm doing business, I don't have no resume because I ain't looking for no job. But you tie the word resume to the word job, and that's not what it's for. Correct. It's my light that I'm shining. So as you shine your light, you must prepare yourself, get a resume, get your SAM's number, get the things that you need to be able to be successful, to make it to the next level. And the information, take information from everywhere. It's like a buffet. Everything on the buffet is not for you. Right. Take what you need, analyze it, but don't discard it because it came from a donkey.
Absolutely.
So the word came from a donkey once. Yeah. So don't discard it because you see it coming from a donkey. My grandson listens to this, so I have to use proper words. I cussed one day, and my 4-year-old grandson made me aware of that. So I'm like, oh, you listen to that show. So we clean it up a little bit.
Absolutely.
My name is Rich Wallace, and we have been here with Catherine Francis, our motivational mindset, mental health delivery person. I want to thank you so much for coming on this morning, Catherine. If you can stay over in the loop for a minute, and we're going to just kind of sign off here. We want to thank everybody. And if you got a last word, you only got about 30 seconds to shoot it out. So Miss Catherine Francis, tell us how to reach you in the next 30 seconds, and we'll be right back with that right now. Miss Catherine.
You can reach me at catcspeaks.com. That's catcspeaks.com. Thank you, Rich.
And if you're looking for a speaker, go to blackchamberofcommerce.org, and we will have some information there about Miss Francis, and take a look and be a part of the Southern California Black Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for being a part of us this morning, and we will see you Wednesday. I'm telling you, I know I wasn't on last Wednesday because oh, you wasn't on. I was at a meeting, but we're going to have some guest hosts signing up that we're going to be, so we won't be missing any time. Thank you so much for being a part of Strictly Business, and we'll see you.